Hello and welcome to a Stream Team Gaming. This time we're demoing Alpha Clash, a game that Drake's buddy, I'm assuming that this is him, created. And I'm...
Not exactly. I just started following the project. I've had some conversations with Ridge, but that's about it.
Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty,
Give me a
so...
sec to... There we go. I just had to fix audio for a second and make sure I didn't reverb myself to death. Okay. So, what we've got here, and there are a lot of different aspects to this, and it's like the card game is right now the most up forward thing, and probably the furthest along in the story's timeline, because we are in the second set of the game right now. The first set was The Awakening, and the second set is called Clash Grounds. Now, the story of Alpha Clash is, to just generally summarize, just normal everyday stuff until a sudden explosion at the CERN laboratories, and this wave of energy wraps around the planet multiple times, and suddenly people start awakening with superpowers. So, and they're not necessarily all great people, and to make things worse, the superpowers come with a drawback in that part of the powers that people wind up getting is that they're drawn to other people with powers and are instinctively driven to kill each other. And part of the reason that this is happening is because aliens are coming to Earth, and what they occasionally do is they hold these things called progenitors' gambits, which is where they periodically reset civilizations. To what end, we're not entirely sure yet. And they take the best specimens on the entire planet and it's like take them with them. It's like in order to get the best fighters that they can. That appears to be what's generally going on. And in this current iteration of the Progenitor's Gambit, somebody who is working with the aliens, the progenitors, during a previous Gambit, has been living on Earth for the past 10,000 years or so, and she's decided that she doesn't want to see the entirety of civilization reset. And what's more is, to add further impact and intrigue to the subject, there appears to be something wrong with this Progenitor's Gambit, and she's trying to gather allies across the world in order to figure out what's going on and potentially stop this gambit from exterminating all life on the planet, which is where these things usually go. And so, if you have the what's the good website for this? The Alpha Clash TCG website is a pretty good place to start with this. Also, the YouTube link that I just started, that I just sent you, is also a pretty good place to start. So if you want to go ahead and just let those run, they're not too long.
Okay. All right.
I know you have been through a lot today. I'm not here to tell you it's just the beginning, because it's not. It's the end. What you have been part of is called the Awakening. Some of you have been awakened. That is the reason you have your powers, and that is the reason you feel the pull. The pull is the reason you were able to find each other and compelled to battle each other.
Yeah, but what's happening?
Unfortunately, you are all pawns of the beings called progenitors, creators of the known universe. They are responsible for the development of life and civilization on countless worlds. However, for reasons known only to them, the progenitors also have a gambit. This gambit starts with an awakening. Then the awakened battle one another until 8 champions are left. The awakened rise to the fore. They are the alphas, the top tier of beings on their planet. When the alphas clash, there is no care given to the collateral damage. Those not awakened are at the mercy of the outcome. When the last of the Alphas emerge as champions, the Harbingers are sent to see if they are worthy. Once again, champions are tested in battle. The last episode on Earth sank Atlantis and set the human race back thousands of years. They are the reason you have myths of old. They are the reasons you have rules that cannot be explained. Your civilization has been reset over the millennium.
So you're saying that's it? There's no way out of this, and we're just doomed.
No. There may be a way to save Earth from destruction. You're going to have to fight. You're going to have to fight other Alphas and become champions of Earth. You're going to have to face the challenges of the Harbingers. You're going to have to win.
And so that's the basic premise of Alpha Clash. And where we're at in the story right now, I'll avoid spoiling it because the book is really worth a good read. I gave it like an 8 out of 10 on the Rogue Contenders podcast, in which, speaking of which, welcome to the chat, Ryerton. Ryerton? Dunn, Ryerton.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I am now a member of Ryerton's podcast, The Rogue Contenders, which is centered around Alpha Clash, discussing various news in the game and all sorts of stuff coming out for it. Like we did a whole 2 hours on the novel itself, and there's a definite point in the video where it becomes spoilery, and so you can cut off before that if you don't want to know, because there's a graphic novel. And that covers roughly 2/3 of the first card set. And then there's the book that covers all the way through the entire first booster set and touches on things that show up in the second.
Mm-hmm.
And the second booster set is already out. So essentially where we're at right now, imagine the boys versus the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Okay.
And so we can hop over to the Alpha Clash TCG page to take a look at some of the characters. That's a pretty good place to start from here.
Okay. Okay, I've got it pulled up. So how does it work?
Okay, way it works from here. I can spot some decks because it's a pretty good way to get started is with the starter decks. Let's start with set ones.
And
Yeah, you'll place the contender over here and deck over here. So essentially what this first set is just a sort of microcosm of one of the big rivalries that happens throughout the first book. And this is the battle between Moxie, Captain Maxine Riggins, eventually Major Maxine Riggins, because she's promoted at the very start of the book. And she's fighting against Magnate. Magnate is essentially one of the premier alphas on Earth right now. And, okay, easy way to do it, you can just, once you have all the cards stacked together, you can just shuffle them by pressing S on the deck. And then you can, give me a sec. There you go. You can right click and shuffle that way. And So you have Magnate on one side. He's essentially the immediate antagonist of the first book. And he's the one he's what doesn't really care that there are harbingers coming. He just wants to be like the best in the world because that's how he's always been, even before he was awakened.
Hmm.
And then on the other side, Major Maxine Riggins, Moxie, essentially Lady Iron Man, though more War Machine, both in terms of her unusual amounts of conventional weaponry. That's a fun thing about Moxie. A lot of her weapons are actually real. A10 Warthogs, 50 caliber handguns, it's like obviously miniguns. And it's like at one point in the graphic novel and book, she uses a 50 caliber Barrett assault rifle and loads it with an 811 Ralphos round, which is actually a real thing. So Moxie's very like grounded in actual real world tech, whereas Magnate is basically evil Superman. And so this was the very first release of the entire game, is what you would get in the very first Clash kit, which is essentially each time they release a set, there's a starter set for it, and you'll get a deck with a contender and a deck with another contender, and they'll be ready to play right out of the box. In set 2, they started implementing where starter decks would actually have their own unique cards to them. I haven't plugged in the second deck yet, which is kind of a pity because the second deck is actually includes lots of very meta-relevant cards. So it's like if you were to pick up just a couple of the second set starter decks, you were on your way to a very potent deck already. And so how this works is that you start off with 8 cards. And it's a mulligan system I really like, where essentially how it works is you pick any number of cards in your hand. I'm going to send that. And that. Yeah. And put them on and send them back to the deck, and then draw back up to 8.
Okay, so draw 8.
And I'm gonna essentially, yeah, and I'm just gonna show you what I've got, so like you like get a look at what some of these cards are and how they work, and they're all stuck together now. I screwed it up. It kind of doesn't matter. Okay, I'll start it again. Send it. Send it. Send it? It'll be fine. You'll draw back up. I'll just show you what I pulled so you can like get a idea of what some of the cards you'll see are. This is kind of like why I like preferring showing people the first starter deck to the second, kind of a controversial choice. But the idea is that the first starter deck relies on a lot of cards that don't seem to get much use in the second set, at least not that I've seen. The second set is very like dome the other person with very heavy clashes, but this is a lot more technical to it because you'll have stuff like equipment and you'll have stuff like traps that are very relevant in this particular build. And so, probably
quick question,
one of Alpha Clash.
Quick question: How do you maneuver this thing exactly? Like I'm playing around with it, but I'm not able to really zoom in very effectively.
Zoom, I believe, is if you right-click what you want to zoom into. There's a, I think, the center mouse button is the zoom. as like the third mouse button, like a click in the wheel. At least that's the one
Okay.
I have it set to.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Okay. So the idea, let's see what it looks like on your side. Okay. So the idea is if you see in the top right-hand corner, you see a little hexagon and a number. That's the cost and the color identity of the card. It's very much like Magic, where it has like the same even the same colors: white, blue, red, green, and black. And Moxie, the starter deck is mono black, and Magnate is mono green. And some of the important cards that you'll see are... Oh, that's a good one to look at, for example, the New York City. That's a Clash Ground. It's essentially like Yu-Gi-Oh's answer to a field spell. Or like the
Okay.
Yu-Gi-Oh! Like answer to a field spell. You can only have one in play at once, and if there's a Clash Ground in play already, it would wipe it out, and it would give you whatever effect that this one has. It's like New York City in particular has a trigger enter, which is shorthand for when you play it and it enters play, then in this case you draw one card. It also gives all the that little upside down V symbol, the alphas, all your alpha clash cards, which are basically clash cards, are basically like creatures in Magic. They'll get +2/+0 and flight. New York City is extremely powerful, and the number of games that I have seen between Magnate and Moxie that end on New York City lol is comical. It's one of Magnate's finishers, and if you could just land that and land enough damage, then you'll basically like win nearly immediately. If you want to go ahead and zoom in on the contender, I could explain them too. They're probably one of the most important cards. Because if you're familiar with Magic the Gathering, contenders are essentially like your commander.
Okay.
So it's like that's your main that's your main player on the field. If you zoom into them, they have a starting static ability, and they have a static ability which triggers once their life drops low enough as you start attacking them with other clash cards and your contender.
Oh, whoops. I'm sorry.
I think you can undo that. I'm monitoring the stream and the tabletop simulator at the same time. Can I undo? Yeah, rewind time. So if you zoom in on the contender, you'll see they have a starting life total. In the first set, they all started at 30. That stopped in set 2 as you started seeing more unique values. Like in the set 2's Clash Grounds starters had 25 health, and there are a couple of contenders in set 2 that have 20. And also your stat lines down here, largely the same in set 1. Everybody's a 1-0. But there are contenders in the later sets with the 20 health that are 0-1. Now, how that works is your contender is a thing that you can attack with throughout the game. Yes, there you can, in fact, just take your contender and slam it into the opponent's contender for however much damage your contender does naturally. Mm-hmm. And if it had any defense, it doesn't, but if he had defense, it would prevent the amount of damage you take in that clash.
Mm.
So normally, if you weren't actually playing Clash cards, you would just like take contenders and just headbutt contenders into each other over and over and over again. But that's where the Clash cards come in. So you can go ahead and zoom in on one of those.
And how do you flip cards again?
Hang on a sec. Right click. There's a right click and a flip button. If you right click it and you'll see the flip command. Hover over the flip command and you'll see what it's set to a default. I think mine is default at F. Yeah. Oh, another thing. Let's get. You see how you have on the top bar, you have like the weightlifting guy and the 15 degrees.
Kinda.
Yeah, click the 15 degrees and you can reset that to 90 degrees. It gives the option. That's essentially your default tilt.
90 degrees.
Yeah. And now whenever you rotate a card, it'll turn exactly that amount. So anyway, zooming in on the Clash cards themselves, like the Contender, they also have the stat lines where they have 1 and 1. And unlike the Contenders, when they fight, their defense resets after every fight, unless they are hit by what's termed non-clash damage, which is essentially like effect damage.
Okay.
And so effect damage is very powerful in this game. There's a number of effects that actually do effect damage. Moxie even has some of her own now as of set 2, the A10 Warthog, which can do which can tap to do 1 damage to any Clash card, or 2 if that Clash card is an Alpha affiliation. So if you zoom in on Moxie, you'll see there's a number of things that are relevant to how she works. You'll see the 1/1 stat line. There's the rarity at the bottom corner. It's that little crystal thingy. And if it's white, that means it's common. Green, uncommon. Blue, rare. Purple is purple or pinkish, however that works, is epic. And there are some that are like a light pink that are promos. And the rarest of them all are the legendaries, or their alternate art printings, the alpha rares, which are black crystals. And those are the hardest cards to get. And I actually have a few of those of my own in paper.
Okay.
Then you have your, at the bottom right corner, you have your affiliation icon. There are 6 major affiliations in the game right now. Moxies is Alpha Hunters. They're the government organization in universe designed to strike back at the Alphas and to stop them from blowing up cities, because that's the funny thing about Alphas is they don't really care who gets hurt along the way so long as they get to fight each other. So the Alpha Hunters are sent in to stop them. Also, you'll see up top the color identity and cost. And what's more is if you look just below that cost, you'll see a sort of list of diamonds below there of that specific color that show you how much of that cost has to be paid by specific colors. Now, there's a similar game to this called Lorcana, where the way the resource system works is that you take any card from your hand and set it down and into your resource zone below. So you have your Clash zone, your accessory zone, and below that, your resource zone. And when you set a card in your resource zone, it's basically out of the game, but it acts like a land would in Magic the Gathering. And the color identity that it gives you is equal to what color identity it would have been played as. Now, that's important because as of set 2, there are now cards that are multicolor.
Mm-hmm.
So those would actually be able to tap for either color. So if you had this Moxie and you wanted to play it as a resource, you could then just play it. Traditionally, you play it upside down, which is kind of Alpha Clash shorthand for this card is not relevant to the game anymore, except as a resource. So you can like take any card in your hand that isn't relevant to any particular scenario immediate to your game plan and make that into a resource. So it's not like you have to draw specific lands like you would in Magic. Everything is a resource that you can use. It's just a matter of when you want to use it. So it's like in Alpha Clash, it's like there are no bad cards. There are just cards that are bad at the moment. And you'll take the card that is least suited to your particular matchup and scenario, set that in your accessories, set that in your resource zone, and then you can use it to pay for the costs of the rest of the cards that you want to play for the rest of the game. And that's how you'll play your Clash cards. And ones like Moxie, like New York City, they have abilities that can activate when they enter, when they beat each other in combat, and all sorts of things. They're your main workhorse throughout the game is your Clash cards. And even in set 2, Clash cards are very important. Most of your deck will be Clash cards. Now, what you're looking at right now is an excellent thing to move on to from here. Those are Clash buffs. You'll notice in set 1, all the Clash buffs were free. So that means that there is no cost to play them. So you can just play them even if your resources are completely exhausted. And when you'll play those is in a specific step in combat. So when your Clash cards attack other Clash cards or contenders, by the way, you can attack other Clash cards, but they have to be tapped to do so. And when they attack, they tap. So that means that the trade-off is if you want to like hold them up in order to block or something, you have to have them standing. But if you want to attack with them, it then makes them vulnerable to not just whatever they're hitting as they get hit back at the same time, but it also makes them vulnerable to other clashes your opponent might play next turn. And then at the start of your turn, any of your surviving clashes left over from when your opponent ended their turn will untap again, and they'll be able to attack and operate normally.
Okay.
And then some other ones to zoom in on, the light power armor and the trap, the sharpshooter Moxie. Couple important cards here. One, the sharpshooter Moxie is a trap. Now, how traps work is that for no cost, you can take a trap from your hand and set it face down in your accessory zone. Then, on its particular counter effect, will tell you when you can play it. In Sharpshooter Moxie's case, you can pay 1 black resource and flip this over in response to an opponent playing a Clash card of cost 2 or less. And Sharpshooter Moxie will essentially negate its play and send it to what the discard pile, or as Alpha Clash calls it, Oblivion. Sharpshooter Moxie is a very, very relevant trap in any black deck, and it remains relevant to this day because there's so many things this gets around that it's really crazy. In any deck that runs black, you're gonna want some of these. And then you have a little more situational, but still very potent card, Moxie's Light Power Armor. This is an equipment or weapon in Alpha Clash speak. And the way those work, you just play them like normal, and they get played to your accessory zone, just like your traps do. And then you can, once they're on board, you can pay their attach cost. In Moxie's Light Power Armor's case, that is 2 black. And for 2 black, you then attach it to a Clash card you currently control. So if one were to pull over that Moxie, you could essentially attach Moxie to the Light Power Armor, and it would give Moxie extra abilities. In this case, Light Power Armor gives +2/+2 and Flight. So Moxie goes from a 1/1 to a 3/3, and she can no longer be blocked by anything that does not also have flying or another rule, intercept, sort of like Alpha Clash speak for reach. The disadvantage, though, is you can't just put this on anything. It can only be equipped to Alpha Hunters. So, fortunately, Moxie has that affiliation. So she is allowed to equip any of these armors. Funnily enough, so is her very male counterpart. So, whatever. It's kind of funny seeing, like, non-Moxie people in Moxie's armor, because Moxie's armor is very feminine, kind of thirst trappy, and yet it can just more likely than not just get slapped on her partner, Sergeant Weber, who's basically her gopher, she's her bodyguard, and it's like her second in command. So like her Maria Hill, if you follow that reference.
Fair enough.
And one of the last types of cards are your action cards. You see a Magnate's Plan right there. That's an example of an action. Magnate's Plan is actually another really relevant card in the current meta because it's 2 cost and it gets rid of a target accessory, which when the set originally came out, the point of Magnate's Plan was to target Moxie's armors and get rid of them. It kind of did its job a little too well because very few things actually ran that many traps. Occasionally Blue would get into it, but they never really would set down too many. And largely the traps that Blue did set down, you could largely just eat them and not lose a terrible amount. You'll still lose something, but it could be worse. So it was kind of irrelevant in set 1 as anything more than a sideboard. Besides, there's other cards that basically do the same thing as Magnate's Plan, but they actually are sitting on top of Clash cards with decent bodies, so Magnate's Plan kind of fell off. But Magnate's Plan is much more relevant in set 2 because you will see things like, let me pull up another deck.
I have to say, though, I don't necessarily like how this thing handles like a tabletop simulator. I mean,
it does take a little bit of getting used to, but it is a free way to essentially play the game with anybody who has these decks. And you can build your own decks on the website and play them online.
And the cards are free. The cards are free.
On Tabletop Simulator, yes. I was using this for testing when set 2 came out, but my package was delayed so very heavily because of inclement weather, and no one knew where it was for a time. So I was just using Tabletop Simulator to run decks and test theories that I was having before I even got my cards in. Now that I've got my cards in, I find that paper is just a much quicker way to handle it. Plus, I can just take these actual events. So that's the general gameplay, but I think the much more interesting thing for our particular context would be the story itself.
Okay.
So we can move on from here to the alphaclashtcg.com.
Okay. alphaclashtcg.com, the Clash Ground.
That's the playalphaclash.com.
Okay. We shift gears. Okay, and we seem to have lost Drake. Okay. Is this it?
Yeah, close the wrong tab. Okay. You see the deck builder store locator characters up top?
Characters?
Yep. It's because this is a comic and a book and a card game, you'll get to see a lot of the major characters that you can build your decks around in set 1. I don't think it's been updated for set 2 because there's some stuff they probably don't want to reveal yet. So you see Clarity, she was one of the original Harbingers from a previous Clash, and she's trying to clarify or essentially cure other alphas from the instinct to kill each other called the pull. And she's a very fascinating character. I think of her like an edgelord in recovery because she definitely has a lot of very ruthless instincts. But she's being tempered because she's trying to protect the world now that she's come to love, because it's about to get blown up, and she's made a lot of connections here, like with the next character when you scroll down, her adopted daughter, Haven. Now, Haven is both just this 8-year-old kid with the power to hide in her own like handmade pocket dimensions, and she also has a degree of empathic abilities that aren't fully understood yet, because there's a lot of things aren't fully understood around Haven, because unlike every other alpha in this current Progenitor's Gambit, Haven has had her powers for years. So there's a big mystery surrounding what's going on with her. And it feeds into the intrigue of everything going on with the story. And it's like, even after the first book, we still have like no major clues as to what's going on with her. But she's a great character. It's like everybody who reads the books loves her. And she even has a card of her own in set 2, where she actually brings to the game the first ever instant win ability. It's like people are already starting to call it Haven Exodia.
That's the immediate thought that I had as well. We got this guy.
Yeah, Magnate Maximus Braunbeck. That should give you an idea of where this is coming from. It's like he's not called like Nathan Magnum or anything like that, where it's like the comic book name rule, where it's like if your name sounds like anything, you will become a comic book villain or something. So this is more as like a more grounded sort of, it's like MCU styled, or at least early MCU styled, where it's like just normal people getting powers. And Magnate is really, really devoted to his particular pole. He is right immediately at the start of the story. He lands at the UN and immediately like calls out every other alpha on the planet. That's the kind of guy this is. And that's where he's also attacked by Moxie for the very first time, and they start their rivalry there. And this is Moxie, basically Iron Man but girl, and she's the leader of the Alpha Hunters, and she's the one mainly chasing Magnate all over the planet in her armor that she's constantly upgrading throughout the series in different ways. A lot of this is reflected in her different cards, because the way Moxie mechanically works is that she relies on a lot of equipment, and she can actually attach multiple pieces of equipment to the same clash card. So a lot of her strategies revolve around taking very small cards and building your own haymakers out of them. So it's like in Moxie, things start small, but they never stay small. And they can like often heavily outpace other things, which is weird because they showed the fully loaded card, and that's like one of the worst cards in the entire game. And then further down, who's next? Oh, Mean Streak, common favorite. Real name Curtis Stenner. He was like dishonorably discharged from the army, and he's been roaming around Chicago when the Awakening first started. And he definitely shows like some of the more unique aspects of how Alpha Clash is written, because nominally he's the speedster. He's the one who runs really fast and to a degree thinks really fast. But there's a lot more to him than that, because as you see floating around him, these little things, those are his streaks. He secretes these semi-intelligent blobs from his body, and he can use them as weapons. They sort of float around him, orbit him, and occasionally, according to him, they talk to him as well. And apparently they kind of have a dirty sense of humor.
Okay.
Which is very much like him. So if for all the characters in the book, Mean Streak has some of the best one-liners. He's like living that Hawkeye life.
You want to go, J. Jaws? Is one of my favorite lines from any Hawkeye adaptation.
Yeah, it's like at one point in the book, he's up against 3 different alphas that Magnate has gathered his own team in response to Clarity gathering her own team. And Magnate gathers up 3 guys. One is a this flyer, flying speedster Apex. Another is this Russian super strong brawler who can throw machinery, machinery called Machina, and this sort of a Mongolian Green Lantern called Kagan. And because of encountering all three at once, he goes, "Oh, great! A Belgian, a Russian, and a Klingon." Oh, and this is the fun one. This is the one I was running in set 1. Torque. Oliver Simmons. He is crazy powerful, but very, very interesting. He's easily one of the darkest characters in the entire set, because even before the Awakening, he was in prison on a life sentence for being a serial killer. And it's like, that's how he got his name Torque. How he killed people was he twisted their neck around 180 degrees, and that was his signature. And as we learn in the books, he's actually been doing that for a very, very long time, and to very, very occasionally young targets. And he's a incredibly dark character. And what happens to him in the book, I will not spoil, but it's very fitting. And it just shows like how Clarity thinks as well. Because Clarity is not this, loving, compassionate mother. No, Clarity is a mother effer. Okay. Do not mess with Clarity. Not even if you're Torque. It's like his power set, Torque's power set is that whenever he gets hit, he can absorb the energy and reflect it back out, or occasionally absorb the energy and just store it until he reaches critical mass and just explodes and takes everything out around him, and then just resumes taking in more energy. So he's physically invulnerable, but let's just say he's not as mentally savvy. A lot of his card effects revolve around damaging himself in order to get card draw, which is why I use it to excellent effect throughout set 1. I actually topped numerous set 1 tournaments.
Okay.
And Torque was how I did it.
Okay.
And it's like you can read about a lot of these in the Kickstarter, though it's closed for the novelization. They still let you, if you want to hop over to there, they still let you buy the novel on the let you like download an e-version for about $10.
What's the link? Kickstarter.
Yeah, the Kickstarter links. Let me check to make sure I'm telling you the right one.
Okay.
Yeah, the Awakening novel. Yeah, that one. Yep. It was funded very quickly, including by me. And I got the ebook. I got a number of things. I got a hat. I forget if I got the jersey or not. I don't think I did. I got the special gear for all 4 of the Harbingers, which show up later in set 2. They're the 4 Horsemen of the Apocalypse types, and I could go into them if I had time, but I probably won't. Yeah, I could definitely show that off at another time. But the important thing is you can do late pledges on the book and still get the ebook. They're working on getting the publishing out. It's probably, as I recall, they're getting they're going to get it out sometime in the next month or so.
Huh. That's really impressive.
Yeah, I've been sinking a lot of effort into this, especially with the card game, because the card game's set 2 meta is very tight. If you're worried about this being a game where it's like one deck will always rise to the surface, it's not. It's really, really not. There are so many different counters and different strategies in this current meta right now. You will be chasing your tail forever. this is a super tight meta because right now it revolves around it's like various different rock paper scissors formats and the distinction of how can you handle the match that you're not good at. So it's like if you wanted to get into the card game, in fact, they're working on getting the TCG player online. They're going to have TCG player marketing very shortly, probably within the month.
Okay.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. And once they do, you're going to be able to get these a lot easier than you could before because you just go on TCG player. It's a very common site that people will get a lot of their Magic cards from already. So once we get on TCG player, it's going to be a lot easier to market this because it's kind of weird because at the start there's a lot of product floating around, but not in the hands of a lot of people. So a lot of people are like sitting on like Kickstarter versions, and there's a lot in print. So the cards aren't that expensive at all. It's like some of the most expensive cards right now are like topping out at like $15, or at least the cards that you'll really, really need. There are some legendaries which have a special rule printed on their card that effectively means that you essentially have a single slot in your deck that you can reserve for what's called an unrivaled card, and each deck and sideboard combined can only have one. So that means that you have to be very careful about which one you pick. Though, depending on your deck, it can be pretty self-explanatory. Right now, one of the best ones is War the Second Horseman, because he's easily the cheapest and the quickest to get online, and very, very devastatingly powerful. He has given me games. He has given me wins in games I do not deserve to win. I will admit that right now.
Okay.
But other than those legendaries, it is very easy to get in Alpha Clash. It's like the only one that really requires a legendary function is Haven, because her backpack is what gives her the instant victory win condition, and that's why her backpack is like $60. But Haven is generally thought of as not that good anyway, because it's very easy to curb stomp her. People have been figuring out ways to do that for a little bit now, and she's hardly indestructible. She's actually not even that good, honestly, but I haven't really cracked her yet. I've been getting a lot more progress done on a lot of especially the set 2 contenders, like the Horsemen of the Apocalypse ones. It's like if I could just go on a little bit about the Horsemen. They kind of screw up the Horsemen in the fact that they did have conquest, but they didn't have famine. They have war, conquest, pestilence, and death. So whatever, close enough. It's like it's more accurate than whatever THQ was doing in Darksiders. It's like fury and strife. What the hell? But anyway, each of the Harbingers in Alpha Clash has a role in how they wipe out civilizations. Death is the one that alerts the Harbingers and the Progenitors to a planet that is essentially ripe and ready to take over because of all the killing that the Alphas are doing. That's kind of the point of why they have the pull, is so that they kill as many people as possible, and it sort of acts as a beacon that Death can read. And then, once Death has locked onto the planet, then Conquest opens the portals. Conquest essentially mans the portals, both in the story and mechanically in the game as well. He is the easiest portal control of any card, but he also doesn't necessarily need it and can mess with it and troll it all sorts of different ways. He also hits like a freight train, which is really fun. And once Conquest has started to open the portal, then comes along War, who essentially he hypnotizes the armies of the planet to fight against one another and sort of contribute to the societal destruction and the leveling of civilization. And finally is Pestilence, whose role is to essentially act as the cleanup crew, to wipe up everything that's left over after all of the Alphas have been gathered off of the planet's surface. It's like as the video went on, it's like the goal of the Harbingers is to find the worthy alphas. And once you have the worthy alphas, who cares? Reset civilization and then grow some new civilizations and then start the pull all over again in another progenitor's gambit and then keep harvesting the best of the best of the best. It's like social Darwinism on a cosmic scale. And so that is what the alphas of Earth are up against eventually. Whether Magnate cares or not, it becomes evident whether he cares or not. Let's put it that way. And that is essentially what Clarity is up against, because Clarity used to be a death horsewoman, and she actually retired from it. And so, being a former horsewoman, she knows what's going on more than most. And because of that, she is able to help the forces of Earth, particularly Moxie and Mean Streak, by forming her own alliance in the game. They're called Rogues, hence Rogue Contenders, the podcast I'm on now. And so their job is to essentially, what they try to do in the first book is they try to stop the alphas from killing each other by Clarity getting to them and clarifying them, which it's like the key line of the book. Clarity asking different alphas, is this who you are? Which is actually a card in the set. And the way it works is when she like touches people, she like goes into their heads. And remember when we were we were reading that Bellin book, and what was that movie that came up, The Cell?
Mm-hmm.
Think like that. She goes inside their heads and sees different ways that different alphas are affected by the pull. Some are tricked by it. Some are essentially enthralled to it. Some are trapped by it, in fact, and need help to be freed from it. And Clarity provides that help. And once she does, she can add them to her team and build up a rising coalition in order to like stop the alphas, neutralize them peacefully, without essentially tripping the Harbinger's kill switch and alerting them to the fact that Earth is ready. So that is essentially the goal of the first book. And you actually see the end of that by the first climax.
Okay. Hmm. Sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah, I definitely think it's like a lot of people in our circles might like this, because it's very much like pulp escapism. It's like it's like, here's why these people in society suck. No, there's none of that crap.
Okay.
This is just straight up escapism. You're just like enjoying the story. And it's actually very easy to like read sporadically, because like there's like 100 or so chapters, and each one is only like a couple pages long. And some of them are really good. It's like there's one that I kind of want to spoil. I didn't get a chance to talk about it in Horizon stream. So essentially, the story starts with Haven. And she's essentially Clarity's adopted daughter, because Clarity knows how Haven's powers work and how to hone them. And it's partially because of Haven that Clarity knows something fishy is going on. And so, because of Haven's ability to open pocket dimensions and store objects, Clarity kind of uses Haven as sort of like an arms depository, and she'll like pull rocket launchers out of Haven's little toy backpack. And so, in one chapter of the story, Haven gets caught in a shopping mall shoplifting and gets brought to Clarity, and Clarity has to like apologize and explain like, well, did you actually see her take anything? No. Well, then you're not really having anything on us. Goodbye. And then it turns out that it wasn't actually Haven stealing anything and putting it into her bag because she wanted it. It was Clarity telling her to do it, to train Haven's powers, because the more you use your powers, the more powerful they get. And Clarity knew that based on what was coming and the apocalyptic consequences thereof, if Haven was going to live, she needed to maximize her powers. But then it's actually Haven who felt guilty over it. And so what they do at the end of the story, at the end of that particular chapter, is Haven like takes all the junk that she stole as part of her practice and just dumps it out in front of the store and just leaves before anybody can catch her because she felt guilty about it. And it's like Clarity actually acquiesces to Haven. She's not an edgelord, not anymore. This is the planet that she's fighting for. She doesn't need to turn them into weapons anymore. It's like, if they turn into weapons, what was she fighting for in the first place? So that's why I think Clarity is like the best character in the book by a significant margin.
Okay. All right. So, shall we get to this game, viewers?
We kind of did. Apparently, it kind of just complicated things. But sure. We're kind of running on an hour, though. So, you think we still have enough time?
I've got enough time.
Okay, sure. Yeah. I wouldn't use the mouse to reorient the camera. I think you can press backspace to undo any tilting.
I actually been using the keyboard to maneuver things.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's not the way that you want to do it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't even bother at all. Yeah, the keyboard controls are not the greatest way to handle tilting and zooming in. If you want to zoom in, I like to just like center mouse click the primary card. No, it's the space bar. That's the reset. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and group all these together, flip them over. Let's take yours. Okay, and you can just dump your hand back into your deck. Okay, when the cards are in your hand, what you can do is you can press F when you're hovering over them to flip them over, and it turns them face down. It's very handy for first turn mulligans. For some reason, I don't have all 50. I'm just going to re-add that object. So I'll go ahead and take first turn so I can show you how this works. You draw up to 8. I'm going to send back this. I'll send back 2.
And what's
And draw
the
back a
first
picture.
hand card?
Eight
Number of
cards.
8.
Yeah, you start at 8, which is a little more than a lot of other card games because of how the resource system works. If you don't have a way to keep your hand size up, you will be gassed very late in the game. And you'll basically only be able to play what you have left in your hand. So I'm going to start on turn 1. I will resource a Captain Maxine Riggins. So I will turn it upside down like that. And then I will tap it to play this Moxie Preparing for Battle, which is a 1 cost. So I can play it for just tapping one single thing. Don't worry about like different devotions because your colors are basically all the same. And when Moxie Preparing for Battle enters the battlefield, it triggers her trigger enter. So I draw a card.
Okay.
And I can't attack on the first turn, so it's your go.
One second. Yeah, my thing has a bad connection, I think.
Wait a second. Oh, if I could promote you. There you go. So you start your turn with a draw, and then you decide which of your cards you want to play as a resource. Because unlike Magic the Gathering, you have to do your draw and then your resource in specific orders.
Okay.
Okay, so that is Sonora Fierce Fighter is a 3 cost. So is that going to be just a resource? Not a bad resource, actually. Sonora Fierce Fighter isn't terrific. It's kind of situational. But I've had really funny uses of Sonora Fierce Fighter at very high levels of play in set 1, but it's probably best as a resource.
Yeah, I'm thinking a resource, yeah.
Yeah, also, did you draw your card for turn?
No, I did not.
Yeah, you get to draw first turn. I do not because I took first.
Okay, all right. So you're just managing my hand, or is that what you're doing?
No. I drew by hovering my mouse over it and pressing the number 1 on the keyboard because that is the shortcut to draw 1 card. Once you get a handle on all the shortcuts, all the camera stuff really starts falling away and not mattering.
Okay.
Destructive Arrival, also a really good resource because Destructive Arrival is kind of worthless in this particular matchup. Whoops.
I was trying to maneuver my stuff. Okay, what's going on? Oh, shoot. Hey, how you doing over there?
You may have to get re-promoted. Promote? Yes. There, you should be good to go. Okay. So make sure to get your draw.
I do admit that I do hate how this thing handles. Not a fan.
I find you get used to it, though. Honestly, if you play it in paper, it's much better.
Well, I think that the gameplay is fine. I just hate how the controls on this thing.
Yeah, I've heard that before. I've felt that before. So, what is going to be the resource?
I'm thinking this one.
Yep.
And then just flip it over.
Yep.
Yeah,
so if you right click, you can the command you're looking for is rotate.
Isn't it just flip?
Flip is flip face down. Rotate is tap, essentially. And I just rotate it so it's upside down.
Okay, let me see. How do I put this back in my hand?
Just drag it right back to your hand. I think that's how that works. Yeah.
Okay, right. And you're not managing my cards. It's just this thing being stupid and wonky. What the heck is going on? I'm not even moving around and it's moving around. Stupid thing.
Okay, it looks like that got taken care of. 1, 2, 3. No, there it is. There you go.
Okay.
So, do you have any 1 costs you want to play on this turn?
Let me see how much is this thing?
That is a 1 cost.
I freaking hate how this thing handles. This thing is so bad. It's like freaking Gollum or something.
Now, since you have the second turn, you actually can attack on the first turn. And something to note is the reason that my Moxie is not advised to attack Magnate Awaken, your contender, is because I have 1-1 and you have 1-0. That means that my 1 damage would go into your 30 life, but your 1 attack would go back into me and kill me. So I would attack you to do 1 damage and die. However, Magnate's effect, and why this starter deck is really powerful, is all of his alphas, which virtually everything in that deck is an alpha. There's like 1 clash that isn't, the Avenging guy, but that's kind of irrelevant. It gives them +0, +1. So this Sonoro starts out as a static 2/2, which is pretty good for a 1 cost because it means that you can attack, and if I block, I'll die for free, and if I don't block, I'll take 2 damage for free.
Yeah, I'll hit you for 2, so just rotate it to the right.
Yep. You declare attack on my Moxie,
Yep.
and it. Okay, then here's where I would have the chance to use a trap. Well, technically, you would have the chance to trigger abilities here, but you don't have any. I would have the chance to trigger any traps or any trigger effects that apply to your attack, but I don't have any. And now is a chance you may use a clash buff at this point, at this particular window, because I'm choosing not to block because I would die for free. And that clash buff, because I know what that buff is, power overflowing, would potentially give you +2/+2 in order to buff you to a 4/4. I would not advise it at this stage, but this is the window where you would activate it. So it's like if you were fighting something and I blocked with something bigger than you, that is ideally when you'd want to drop a clash buff in order to actually kill something that you wouldn't have normally been able to kill. You can also use clash buffs on your contender. So a lot of people like to sit on them until late game, because the way clash buffs work in set 1 is that because they're 0 cost and they each draw you a card after being played, they're essentially card neutral. And so you essentially just gain the advantage of a clash that you killed that you wouldn't have normally killed for free. So very powerful cards. I would not advise using one at this point. Honestly, I wouldn't advise using one even if I had one. So right now it's just 2 damage gets into me, and my 1 damage gets into you. My 1 damage fails to kill you. Your 2 damage deals 2 to me. So I'm already at 28, and it's only turn 1.
Okay. Ready?
Okay, now is my next turn. I'm going to untap and then draw. All right, I am going to resource. I'm going to try something funny. This is more for like illustrating effects than actually anything. I'm going to tap 2 resources to play Moxie Alpha Hunting Specialist. Now, the way this works is, let me double check how it works because I so rarely actually use this effect because it's kind of trash. But Moxie's stat line is really nice. It's a 3/1 for a 2 cost. You may reveal the top 3 cards of the deck. Okay, so it is reveal. So essentially what I'm going to do is take 1, take 2, take 3. I'm going to reveal what these are to you. Oh, I got a Weber. And because of that, that Weber can enter play immediately, I think. Is that how that works? Weber, Edwards, Clash Stone, and put the remaining cards into oblivion. Yes. Okay. The disadvantage of that is I lost one of my heavy power armors and one of my own clash buffs. I could have used this actually at a later point in the game to like turn a clash that was not going my way. Like if you had Sonoro attack Moxie and I dropped a clash buff, I would actually kill Sonoro and you wouldn't do any damage to me. So that's how powerful these things can be. So I just lost one of those just to get Moxie's effect off. I also lost a heavy power armor, which is a huge problem because this deck really relies on getting those heavy power armors. That's one thing you're not going to need to worry about killing. So that means if you draw any Magnate's Plan, I would definitely consider them for the resource pile. Now, the problem is, if I launched an attack here into Sonoro, I'm probably going to die. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use Sergeant Weber to attack Magnate for 2/2. Okay. This will be just like your Sonoro, except I cost more. Okay. Yeah, that's a thing. And I just straight up die and do nothing. And then you can draw a card after playing your Clash buff. Yeah. What's interesting to note about the Clash buffs is that, especially in some of the set 2 ones, you really have to read how they work. In set 1, the way they work is that they give you +2/+2 for the rest of the turn. So that means that if I were to attack with Moxie preparing for battle now, I would put a 1/1 into a 3/2 Magnate Awakened. That would just kill me outright. So basically, putting down a Clash buff on top of your Clash card basically makes it so it can't be killed by anything really weak. It's like even Moxie Alpha Hunting Specialist. I could do 1 damage to you, but I would lose a card, and that's a terrible, terrible trait. So that's a very powerful effect just to illustrate just how that works. I'm going to pass the turn from here because I am out of resources.
All right. Okay. I am going to use this as a resource. And so do I get 2 automatically or?
For each one you tap, you get 1 resource. Okay, yeah, that's another really powerful one. That's also a 2/1 basic, but it's buffed to a 2/2 because of your contender. Yeah, you also have this one sitting on the side, this Destructive Arrival. That's actually this. There you go.
That was my resource that I was using.
I thought your resource was this Destructive Arrival down here. You already dropped one. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, just save it for next turn. Okay, so now you have a 2/2 and a 2/2 with flying and breakthrough. Now, breakthrough is essentially Alpha Clash's version of trample. Yeah, trample, piercing. So if you like do excess damage to everything that blocks you, then the excess damage goes into the contender. So that's really powerful. And because of my low defenses, if I block you, which I couldn't even block Menacing Magnate anyway because he's flying, then I would just die anyway. So you could just like tilt the table and slam 4 damage into me, and there's not much I can do.
Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Okay. Yeah. Also worth noting, there is no combat phase per se in this game. You can choose at any time during your primary phase to attack with a card and then play more cards and then attack with any cards that are left. So you can do that. You can play and attack in any combination in any sequence you like. So there's no battle phase. You can always just save stuff, play stuff later. So you essentially have as many main 2 and battle phases as you want, but things can only attack once per turn by tapping.
Gotcha.
Which adds a lot to the strategy. Okay, so 2/2 menacing is going into me. I'm just going to take the 2. Are you going to buff?
No.
Probably not. Yeah, I will not buff either. I'll just take the 2. Yeah, you're out of resources for that right now.
I know. I'm just
Yeah.
this stupid thing. It's just trying to maneuver over this whole thing. All right.
Okay, you gonna attack with Sonoro?
No, I think I'll wait.
Okay.
So, yeah, I do
Yeah,
like
now you
Master
have
Duel. Thank you. Yeah, this is kind of fun. I like games like this.
So
like
as that, I think that's your turn because you should be out of stuff to do.
Mhm.
So I'm just gonna start mine.
Yeah.
What do I got? Okay. All right. I am going to resource. I'm gonna resource Sharpshooter Moxie, and then I'm going to tap 3 to play my Moxie's Light Power Armor. This is sitting in my accessories right now because I don't have the resources left to equip it. So I'm pretty much just going to have to end my turn here. So go ahead.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, you're control. You had a control group. There you go.
Thanks.
What the heck? Flip that over. There you go.
Okay, so
And then
gonna
untap your
use-
resources. Do you want to play a resource?
I think I'll play this one. Yeah,
Okay,
maybe.
that'll cost 1. And
no.
you get to.
I'm not gonna play it. I'm gonna use it as a resource.
Okay.
Um,
Okay.
it's just that
There you
this.
go.
I don't know why, but it's just not very smooth.
Yeah. Once I like to go in and change around some of my static settings, and no, not to just like mess with cameras or any weirdness, because like sometimes it'll fix on control groups and not tell you that it still has them when you do other stuff. So you'll like be doing a bunch of other things. And I'll untap these. Whoops.
Okay, so one second. Um, Alrighty.
Okay, you're back in. I will re-promote you. You were promoted once more. All right.
Man, I hate how this thing handles. I'm gonna hit you with Menacing Magnate.
Okay. I'm not gonna. I cannot block. That's period. So you have a choice of playing. I don't think there's any card in your deck that you would want to play at this particular window. So, and there's no card I can play in this particular response window. So just move on to the buff step. Are you gonna buff? Get used to that question.
No, I'm not gonna buff.
No, it's like no buff, no buff. Okay, so I'll just take the 2. That's set 1 for you. No buff, no buff. And gonna leave up Sonoro. Gonna play anything?
No, I don't think I will.
Okay. Interesting. All right. So my turn.
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm gonna draw one. Okay, now I'm getting ready to do some fun stuff. The question is, what do I want to resource? I'm going to resource an alpha hunting specialist because it did so well before, and I'm going to tap 3 more in order to play United Nations headquarters.
Okay.
Now, this does a few things. First off, it gives all my alpha hunters intercepting, so now I can block your menacing magnate. I'll die hard, but I can now block him. It also gives all my alpha clashes, all my alpha hunters, +2/+0. So my Moxie preparing for battle is now 3/1, and my Moxie alpha hunting specialist is now a 5/1. Any attack will still kill them because Moxie's like made of paper, but that's how it goes. But what it finally does is it reduces the equip costs of all my equipment by a single black pip. So Moxie's light power armor goes from requiring 2 resources to equip to 1 resource to equip. I will equip Moxie Alpha Hunting Specialist with the light power armor, like so. So she is now a 7/3 in the air. So I will use Moxie Alpha Hunting Specialist to attack Menacing Magnate.
I play Magnate's Trap.
Oh! That's the thing. Okay, just letting you know, the way traps work is you have to set them face down first, but I'll let you get away with this one because, of course, I figured what you were going to do when you left 3 green resources up. It was pretty obvious because I played these decks a million times. So that is definitely a thing. So you're going to tap 2, and then I am going to lose my Clash, and I have to discard a card. Huh. I'm going to discard Moxie preparing for battle. So I'm down to just 3 cards. So, and that's not good. And now my accessory goes back to the accessory zone because the thing that it attached to it died. And this is all I've got left. I cannot do much more right now. Go ahead.
All right.
Very powerful card, though, because that is like a 2-for-1. But it only targets small things. But all of Moxie's things are small, so it targets virtually everything Moxie has. It's also very good against things like Torque, because Torque can't be actually damaged through non-clash means. And by the time he attacks, he's usually swole as crap. So Magnate's Trap is very meta in order to counter stuff like that. So you also stand up your Menacing Magnate.
Okay. I am going to use this thing as a resource.
Okay, resource in the baby Sonoro. Yeah, one of the decks I made in set 1 was taking all of the 2/1 cards that cost 1 and jamming them into the same deck and under Magnate. So they basically were all 1 cost 2/2s. It wound up getting the name Maximum Babies. That's a big thing. Okay, Magnate ready to fight.
Okay. So I'm just gonna hit you with Magnate Ready to Fight and Menacing Magnate.
Okay, you do attacks 1 at a time. So who's going to be first?
This guy first.
Okay, so I'll just spin him up. And Magnate Ready to Fight, I will block with Moxie Preparing for Battle. Because I'm 3/1, I won't be able to kill you, but I will be able to stop you from hitting me for 4. So this is the part where you would use something to buff you up, but you can't because you're tapped out. I also have nothing face down in order to stop any incoming attacks. So now it is buff step. Would you like to buff?
Nope. I don't have any buffs.
I do. This buffs my Moxie Preparing Battle to 5/3 with a combination of the UN headquarters. So we will both die, but I will draw a card afterwards.
Okay.
Okay, anything else?
No, I'm Well, I think I'll still attack. Back with this guy, so it's.
Yep,
you're
not
down
much
by
I can do
2.
about that. Buff?
No. No.
Okay,
No
I'm
buff.
just 22. Anything else?
No, but I think that's good.
Cool. All right. I am going to skip resource. I'm going to tap 4, and this card's cost is going to be reduced by 1 because I control 1 unattached equipment. So Moxie Prime to Clash is coming down for a total cost of only 4, discounted by 1 for the 1 equipment. And when she enters play, I can target an alpha of like cost 3 or less and kill it for free. You may send target alpha clash card with an initial resource cost of 2 or less to Oblivion. I target Menacing Magnate.
All right. Yeah, you can put it in there.
Yep. And then I will have Moxie preparing for Prime to Clash. I will attack for a grand total of 5/3, including the United Nations headquarters bonus, into Magnate Awakened. Now, if you had a Clash buff, now would be the time to use it, because that would actually kill me.
Let's see. How high is your attack power? It's 5, right?
Attack power 5, defense 3. So if you buffed, you would go to 3/2, and you would take 3 damage, and I would die.
I can't. I don't have that. Anything that would allow me to do that. Sorry.
Okay, so I
I'll
just
take it.
got 5 damage into you. No problem. That's only the first damage I got into all game. Magnate is very aggressive. Okay, that's my turn. Go ahead.
All right. All right. Let's draw a
Make
card.
sure I know the rest of her abilities.
Okay. And I'm going to tap 3 to play New York City.
Oh, here we go. There goes the UN.
And that actually will. And then. I'll
And
have
you
to
draw a
end
card on its enter.
Oh, yeah. Let's see. Draw. Let's see what I get. So, it's being a little bit slow on me. Come on.
Yeah, it says it's connecting to you. There.
Oh.
Whoops.
What's your health at, by the way?
My health is 22.
Okay, and mine is 25, I think.
25.
Right?
Yep. Yeah, so you have a few things you could do at this stage, except that you fell off.
Mm-hmm.
And re-promote. There you go. Yeah, it's like you have the ability to attack with Sonoro into my Moxie, and even if I could block, I wouldn't be able to because my Moxie isn't flying, nor do I have intercepting.
Okay,
so that
I
is
think
why New York City often wins games as soon as it lands.
So I think I drew too many cards. I think I'm only up to. Yeah, I think I drew a couple too many cards.
Okay, I'll just shuffle that one back in.
Yeah.
Was this one also excess, the Undisputed?
No, that's I just need to have 4. I was just up to 4.
Okay, so is this a resource or is it an excess draw or what?
Excess draw, yeah, you can play back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have some preset shortcuts. I think F I had to hard code in order to flip it over because that made intuitive sense to me. So I can just do that really quickly. So that's the only reason I can do that. I was pretty clumsy with this when I first started as well. But once you get your hotkeys set up, then you're off to the races. Okay, so Sonoro is he just gonna stand there in the
he's
air?
just gonna stand there. He's just gonna stand there.
Okay,
Now.
gotcha.
How much your guy at?
How much what?
3/3? She's a
She's
3/3,
a 3/3.
right?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna call it there.
Okay.
Rotate.
I'm gonna
this.
draw. Okay, I'm going to. I'm going to resource a Sharpshooter Moxie. I'm going to tap 3 and play another UN headquarters. So that gets New York City out of here.
So now your thing is 5/5.
5/3. It only boosts by 2/0. But now
Okay.
this, I can tap for 1, reducing UN reduces the cost of equipment by 1. So now I attach the light power armor to Moxie Prime to Clash, and she is now a grand total of 7/5. I cannot attack your Clash because it's not engaged, or tapped out in like Magic speak. So I'm just going to put 7/5 into Contender.
Okay, I will have to take it.
Okay, and I will end my turn there.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like this is why people just hover over the deck and press the number 1. Because that's the shortcut to draw 1 card. There you go. We're probably at the stage of the game where you might consider not actually resourcing anything, because 5 is probably enough to get you through the game.
Let's see. And what's your guy? Moxie Prime to Class. What's the cost on that? That was 5. Okay.
Yeah, this is a case where if you had something like another Clash Ground to take out the UN headquarters, you'd want to play it. Oh, that works. Magnate Unwavering Might. For some reason, it took a holiday.
Yeah, so I get to draw a card.
Yep.
And let's see. I'm actually going to resource this thing right here. Destructive Arrival, come on.
Okay.
And then I am going to tap it in order to play Amazon Rainforest.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a thing. Okay. Okay, Amazon Rainforest, on enter, you draw a card.
Okay. So I think I drew the card. I don't know why I don't.
Looks like you fell off the game again.
I don't know what the deal is. My internet doesn't seem to be malfunctioning.
Okay, re-promote. There you go. So you have an Amazon Rainforest. On enter, you draw a card. So just like hover over the deck and press the number 1. There you go. It's much easier that way.
All right, and
Yeah, because
I
you
think
can't
I'm
actually
going
get over the
good.
5/5. Okay.
Yeah,
All right. I'm gonna untap there.
that's a 5/5, right?
Oops. I drew way too many. I only had like, what the heck? Yeah, it just went nuts for me too. That is way too many. I'm just gonna draw 1. There we go. I'm not gonna resource. I'm going to tap 1, and my control group is messing up, and play Moxie preparing for battle. I will draw 1. Huh. Okay, here's a thought. I'm going to have Moxie Prime to Clash attack your contender. I am 5/5 in the air, so you don't have any flying. I think Unwavering Might cannot fly. Double checking. Yeah, he cannot fly. So it would be 5 damage into you, which...
That's 17 I'm at.
How do you were at 18 before. That would take you to 13.
Okay.
Come on. I'm missing your... There we go. Then I'm going to tap 1 to play Captain Maxine Riggins, sort of the baby Moxie to respond to baby Sonoro. And I'm going to tap 2 resources here and to take this light power armor to hard pay its cost to re-equip it to another Clash card I control. So now Captain Maxine Riggins is 4/3. I'm going to attack with Maxine Riggins into Contender because nothing else is tapped out. And I'm going to just hope you don't have a Clash buff.
I do.
Oh, yeah, that'll work. Okay. You will take 2, and I will lose my Clash, and my equipment will be unequipped. So I'm very vulnerable next turn. So you
And
are
I
down
get to
to
draw a card.
11. Yep. Okay, and that is my turn. So as soon as you draw the card from the buff, and then draw for turn. Okay. Oh, also Amazon Rainforest. I keep forgetting this card exists. So you actually draw another card and then discard a card afterwards.
Okay.
I forgot about that too. Whatever.
Let's get rid of this one.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna set this thing face down.
Yep, don't worry. I've memorized these cards long before. In fact, this is my trap. I haven't bothered playing them face down because A, I don't think it's probably effective, and B, I think it's better as a resource. Because, like, I could take out a baby, but then again, you've got way more, so it kind of doesn't matter. It's more useful in matchups where taking out specific low-cost cards is okay. Another one. So that's another card draw.
All right, and I will put this thing down as a resource. And then I am so it's 3/3, right?
Yep, 3/3. And you are a 4/3, so you would die in the attack, but considering how low my hand size is, it's very likely that I won't have another attacker like you do. You definitely have another attacker. So you could play the game of you attack me and trade, or you could just sit there and wait for me to attack, or in hopes that I don't re-equip the armor. But right now, at this point, you probably want to take me out before I can get her in armor.
I'm gonna
Unless
play
you
the
take out
Avenging.
the armor.
I'm gonna play the Avenging guy.
Okay, that's also a thing. Yeah, you've just taken one of your magnates out of range. Okay.
So now he becomes a 4/4. So I will use. Sorry.
He actually becomes a 6/4. He buffs by 2/1.
All right.
So you have a 2/1 buff on Avenging Guy and a 0/1 buff. So yeah, Moxie is what is the damage on that? That is let's add that up again. 4, 6, 3, 2, 4. So 6/4. Okay. Do you buff?
No, I'm not gonna buff any further.
I do buff, so we both die.
Okay. I am okay with this.
Yeah, because there are only 4 buffs allowed in a deck, so the more buffs you can get me down through dumb stuff that doesn't involve your buffs, the better your buff economy will be.
And then I will hit you with my 4/2. Yeah.
I will take that. Okay, anything else?
I think that's good.
Okay, I will draw a card. Huh. I will resource Colonel Edwards. I'm going to tap 2 and play Moxie, Alpha Hunting Specialist. I'm going to use her enter ability to reveal top 3 cards of my deck. And I'm looking for a Weber or an Edwards. Flip. Oh, here we go. These get discarded, and this comes into play for free. Now, Colonel Edwards activates, and I get to, I think, forget how this works because I almost never use him. Reveal the top 5 cards of my deck, and okay. So let's move this over and get me some space. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I get to immediately play 1 equipment of cost 3 or less. Live the dream. Live the dream. Live the dream. Woo! I got it. I got the light power armor. Yeah, Moxie is kind of a combo deck, and the rest get sent to the bottom of the deck in any order, but I kind of don't care because I'm not going to see him again.
Yeah, I do think you're gonna beat me though.
I'm not sure. It's like I burnt a lot of resources doing that, and what's more is I'm about to burn a lot more. You may get in before I have a chance to really get going, but I'm going to tap 4 more and play Moxie's heavy power armor.
Okay.
But that is the last of the resources I've got, and when heavy power armor enters play, I lose 1 life. So that is all I've got for the turn. So the question is, can you get in for lots and lots of damage? So if you got like a New York or something, that would probably close out the game really quickly. And I keep forgetting about the Amazon rainforest. So go ahead.
All right.
Yeah. Letting you know, there is a cute little trick you can do. If you take Magnate Awakened and does that work? Once per turn during your primary phase, you may engage this card. Okay, you actually have to engage Magnate. So the idea is once Magnate takes 1 more damage, you can, instead of engaging to attack for 1 damage, you can instead engage to force me to discard a card. So that's sort of your catch-up mechanic for when you start falling behind. And for the record, my catch-up mechanic is that once I'm down to 10 life, once per turn, I can I can attach an equipment to 1 clash card I control for free.
You're gonna hate this. I'm playing Magnate's plan on your heavy armor.
Yeah. Yeah, that sometimes happens.
Okay. And then to engage Magnus, I can make you discard a card.
Once you're at 10, you're at 11 right now.
Okay.
You could attack with your contender and then do it again next turn.
Yeah, true. But you'll deal damage to me, I imagine.
Yeah. Assuming I can draw something assuming I can actually assemble like a decent attacker, because that's the thing with a lot of Moxie's attackers. They attack and then they die. So what else you got?
I think I'll put this down as a resource and call it a turn.
Oh, that is a lot of resources. Okay. Now, this time, I'm going to remember that Amazon Rainforest is a thing and draw 2. And discard 1. Eddie. I will then... I will tap 3, and this Moxie Prime to Clash is reduced in cost by 2, which is why I played the heavy power armor. I wanted to play her for 2 this turn, but whatever. So Moxie Prime to Clash enters the battlefield, and I get to take out 1 alpha of cost 2 or less. Now, Avenging Guy is your non-alpha in the deck, so I can't hit him, and Magnate Unwavering Might is too big, so I can't hit him. So I have to hit Sonoro in this case.
Okay.
Okay, and then I will tap 2. I will equip this with a Moxie's Light Power Armor. So she is now a 5/5 in the air. I will attack your contender.
Okay, so down by 5?
Yeah, you were at 11, so now you're down to 6. And any more attacks would just like level my playing field, so I am not going to bother with that. Not even Elf Hunting Specialist. I'll save it for later. So I'm going to pass turn. Yeah, if you play a resource this turn, I'll be very surprised.
I think that I will call it a turn.
Are you gonna use Magnate's ability?
Yes, I am.
Okay, and I can just discard a card. So now I'm top decking. Or as I've seen one player call it when I play in person, they call it jazz hands.
Fair enough. I'm going to end my turn there.
Okay. I'm going to draw.
And can you defend with a card? Or
Not from flying.
okay. All
So,
right. Well, I think we're pretty close to game, honestly.
Yep. I am going to set myself up so that I am buff proof. I'm going to spend 2. I'm going to equip the light power armor to this Moxie. So this normally you can only stack 1 equipment on top of a card, but Moxie breaks that rule as part of her core ability. So this light power armor is now a 7/7 in the air, so it cannot be blocked. So that 7/7 will get into your contender for game probably, unless you have a buff to save yourself.
I have this.
Oh, yep. Dang it. Okay. So you, that 7 goes down to 5 damage. So you live at exactly 1. Here is the thing, though. I do have plenty of attackers. I will attack with Alpha Hunting Specialist.
And it's okay. So my defense is.
Are you going to respond with your trap?
Yeah, let's see. What does it do? Oh, again.
It kills the
maybe.
Hunting Specialist, and I discard a card.
All right.
Which, that was the fully loaded. There's a reason it's not very good. It's because in a situation like this, you probably don't have the resources to play it. Now, Moxie preparing for battle, I just have to get 1 more damage in, but that is a blocker too big, and that is a blocker too big. So I got to hold up and just hope I don't die. Turn.
Okay, so I hang on by the skin of my teeth.
Yeah, if you can get a flying blocker or like New York City or anything like that, you can hang on or probably even kill that. That'll work. That doesn't actually power up Avenging Guy because he is not an actual alpha. He is a rogue for some reason. I don't know why, because Avenging Guy is kind of an anomaly in the story. A lot of people just think he's like a joke because he's just like running around with a bow and arrow and occasionally shooting at alphas in order to protect the city, and no one knows what his deal is. So it's kind of like our joke in the fandom. What is he doing? So what all you have? If you can put up enough blockers, it won't matter.
Yeah, I have to discard this. This, I think. Well, actually, no. Let's see.
Actually, there's a really sneaky trick you could do if you don't discard that one. By playing Sonoro Fierce Fighter, you can sacrifice the Avenging Guy, which doesn't do anything right now, and get back an alpha from your discard pile, like your Menacing Magnate, who can serve as a flying blocker to stop my Moxie from getting in for lethal damage.
Let's see, where was he?
Yeah, in the discard pile. So if you right-click, you can search.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
There we go.
At that point, you can just group them back up into a new discard pile, and there you go. Okay, so now you have a flying blocker. In fact, everything is a flying blocker now because of New York City, but more to the point, you can probably press in for a ridiculous amount of damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
Also,
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. That does not actually kill me unless you play like If you have exactly a Sonoro 1, I am dead.
I don't. So where are you? You're at 17?
Yeah. If you had exactly a Sonoro 1, oh, wait, no. Menacing Magnet can't attack this turn. So you could get in for a lot of damage. But at this point, you probably want to hold up so that all your things are flying right now. So that means that no matter what, I can't get through. And you have 2 resources up, meaning your Magnet's Trap is online. So these things are basically off the table right now. So I can't attack with them to get in for the 1 damage. And everything is flying, so I can't get Moxie Prime to clash through either. So I'm in a big pickle right now, even though I've got like 16 more life than you, because I have no cards to work with right now.
Fair enough. I will call it a turn there.
That might be it. Let's see what we got. Hail Mary, full of grace. What do we got? A bunch of binoculars. Those actually that might work. Just take the rest. Set them to the bottom of the deck. Man, down to 18 cards. So I have a Weber's binoculars. Okay, I'm going to tap 1. This is not good. I'm going to equip to the Weber's binoculars to this whole big giant Moxie stack, because that's how Moxie rolls. So this Moxie isn't powered up by the Weber's binoculars, but it gives her an ability when she attacks. So I'm going to attack with her. And she is 7/7, and Weber's binoculars will trigger on the attack declaration. And how this works is I look at the top 3 cards of my deck, and I can reveal one of those that is an alpha, that is a clash card, or an equipment card that costs 2 or less. I can't figure out this control. I used to remember it. I'll just flip them over. Okay. So I'm going to send these 2 to the bottom of the deck and reveal this Sergeant Weber and add it to my hand. Okay. Now, after all that's done, you can't Magnate's Trap me because I am cost 5, so you can only Magnate Trap small things. So at this point, you just like throw a blocker in my way. Probably your smallest thing, like your Sonoro.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so chump with Sonoro. You know I don't have a buff, and you're probably not going to use a buff either.
No.
So he's gone, and she's blocked. And then I have I am going to tap 2. I'm going to play Sergeant Weber that I got from the binoculars. I'm going to attack with Colonel Edwards. So you have 2 blockers and a Magnate's Trap.
What's his cost?
3, so he is not able to be trapped, but he will die if you block with anything.
I'm going to play Destructive Arrival.
Oh, that's a thing. I've actually never seen Destructive Arrival get used in a game before. Because it's like normally Moxie just stacks her clashes super high. She doesn't swarm like this. This is kind of unusual behavior for her. Not this stack thing. This is very typical. But it's unusual that I actually play that many Weber, or Edwards rather, because I usually don't bother, because Edwards is kind of expensive for just a 1/1, because you play him for 3 costs, and if he whiffs, then you have a very tiny clash. So you now have a trap and 2 blockers. So I cannot get through that. So I got to pass turn. And yeah, the Amazon Rainforest is not online anymore.
Let's see. I'm gonna tap 6.
What's cost 6?
Since
Oh yeah, because he discounts himself somehow. Gotta remember his discount effect.
oh yeah, it's only 7. Sorry, it's 7.
Okay, yeah, still really good. So you will have 1 left. And also you have awe factor. So that means when this card enters play, all clash cards you don't control get -2, -0 until end of turn. That means that Moxie Prime to Clash goes down to 5/7, which I believe, yeah, Magnate Undisputed is 7/6. And also, this is kind of an important effect in this particular situation if you choose to use it this way. In fact, you probably won't because I think you might have game on board. But if you wanted to use it this way, Undisputed means that whenever you attack something, you will not die, no matter how much damage I deal back to you. So
Right,
that is a really powerful ability, but it might not matter because 7, 9, 13, 15, 17, 19. No, you have game on board.
All right, let's go for game. Good game. Totally.
Yeah, I have no buffs. Dang. Late Undisputed. But you see how close it gets.
Yeah, that was really down to the wire. I was down to my last life, and only playing that one buff saved me.
Yeah, and one thing I love about Alpha Clash is that unlike in other games where Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a big problem with this, the game tends to end, functionally speaking, on an opponent's turn. In Alpha Clash, the game ends when you play something and you attack. So it's like you play your cards, and that is what decides it. It's not just, I have a gigantic board state, what are you going to do about it? That's actually extremely rare. In fact, I was just playing a game of the Rogue Contenders the other day where it was a 2-on-2, and cheeky bastards managed to slap down a Torque the Uncontrollable, a Torque the Uncontrollable, a Torque the Uncontrollable, and a Torque the Uncontrollable, and drop Here Comes the Boom. So what that did in combination was it put 4 Power 1 Defense 2 cards on the field, and then Here Comes the Boom killed everything else except for them, and each of them became 6/7.
Dang, that's crazy.
And the funny thing is I actually outed them because I was playing Pestilence at the time, and Pestilence's gimmick is he kills things during the primary phase without attacking by sort of like reducing their effects and dealing damage to them. And so what I did was a combination where I had Wasteland on the field, which is Pestilence's pet clash ground. And the way that works is it lets you bounce one of your clashes to your hand once per turn. And Pestilence has a lot of abilities that activates when he enters the field. So I enter the field with a Pestilence Infectious, which reduces the power and defense of a clash card of my choosing by 2. So those 1/2 torques that after the boom resolves and the damage wears off at the end of the turn, they're all sitting around at 1/2. But I have to figure out how to defeat them without actually dealing damage to them, because that just makes them tougher. So Pestilence reduces their defense and essentially kills them that way. So the Pestilence came out, it killed one of the torques on enter. Then I brought Pestilence back to the Wasteland. I played Pestilence, killed the second torque on enter. Then I played another card from my hand to kill another Torque on enter, and then I attacked with my Infectious into the last Torque, so I managed to out all 4 Torques. I was very, very, very dead, but that was a funny play that I was able to pull off.
That is pretty cool.
You can see all sorts of gameplay for this. If you look up the Rogue Contenders, that's the podcast I'm on. Radixton CCG also has a number of the games that I've played, as well as, if I can look up the link, Lee from Tavern Brawlers, Leigh. If I could just drop a link real quick, if I can search it up. Because there you'll actually get to see some of the games I played on official terms. Let's see if I can look it up.
Okay.
Yeah, Lee TV. Drop the link. I'm literally cross-armed right now.
Yeah, let me drop the links to the thing in the chat as well.
There's a link to the Lee's Tavern Brawler channel where he has a number of different Alpha Clash things on it. And there's one game in particular that I played on there with my Torque deck. And I think this is mine. Yeah, and I can drop the link to that.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, one last link I want to put in the chat before I go. Where is it? There it is. Here's a game I played in the Tavern Rollers League. There are essentially online leagues that let you play remotely for Alpha Clash because it's kind of hard to find other players unless you live in certain locations. Ohio has a group. Colorado evidently has a group. That's how I found mine. And I'm trying to start some groups further north in like Denver proper because I have to drive down to Colorado Springs if I want like real paper games. I also do a number of webcam tournaments. Aiming for one that's occurring this at the end of January, where we're actually going to be collabing with some tournaments, with some tournament organizers in the Philippines, where the game actually also took off as well. And we're going to get some international games in, and we're going to see how that works out.
Okay.
And the big event that I'm prepping for is there is a tournament in Las Vegas on April 20, the last weekend of April, and I have been studying relentlessly for this. I have never studied for a college class as hard as I've studied this format, and I am looking at all my different options, seeing what options I have, and it's like breaking news for anybody still following. I finally found a Machina deck that I don't hate. Because Machina is very powerful, but he plays in a really quirky way. Because you notice that our game revolved a lot around Clash cards just hitting each other. Machina doesn't do that. Machina literally puts weapons on the field, and then he throws them at other cards that do damage to them. So it's basically put out as many cheap weapons as possible and slam the weapons in, which is kind of funny because one of Haven's quote-unquote weapons is called Sticky Fingers. It represents her shoplifting and whatnot, and it's part of her Haven's strategy in order to get collection counters to instantly win the game. But the important thing is that it's a one-cost accessory. So what Machina does is he can play that really cheaply, and he can then throw that equipment and deal 2 damage to anything he wants and then draw a card afterwards. I even themed an entire deck around it, and I nicknamed it Machina Gives You the Finger.
Okay, that's hilarious.
Yeah, the funny thing is that it kind of doesn't work outside exactly Harbinger context, because I've been studying the Harbingers a lot, because I think I have a pretty good idea of how the Set 1 contenders work, having topped so many Set 1 tournaments. I need to update my Set 1 estimations of certain clashes, certain contenders, because in Set 2, the Clash buffs are no longer free, but they're more powerful. So that means that there's never a situation with a Harbinger that you will not see a clash buff coming. However, when they do come, they land and they hit really, really hard because the set 2 clash buffs are customized for their contender.
Okay.
So, like, the war clash buff is Decimation. Instead of costing 0 and giving you 2/2 and a draw, it doesn't give you a draw, but it gives you +3/+1 and breakthrough. So that's a very powerful effect if you can land it at the right time. It's especially powerful if you can combine it with something that can re-stand a clash card, so it can attack and then get buffed, and then it stands back up, and then you attack again. So that's a very powerful combo in war.
Okay.
And that's one of the ones I've been leaning on and trying to see if I can get it operating at a tournament level. And I've been having middling success with it. Machina has largely been kicking War's teeth in because while War has a lot of attack power, he's not very sturdy. He dies a lot on the crackback. Not to Moxie's extent. Well, maybe his tokens do, because War is a token build, essentially. So it's kind of like White Weenie, but more.
Okay.
Yeah, from Magic. So the thing about War is because he's got all those small tokens, and because of the way mechanically, if you attack something that's 1/0, your token just dies. So you usually have to use War's tokens in a more synergistic way to use it to pump other cards up. So just like tap them out in order to like power up a Strifebringer or something. So that's one of the tricks I've been trying to set up. The problem with doing that against Machina is that Machina does exactly enough damage with the right equipment that he throws to just kill War Strifebringer immediately. So it's like, yeah, sure, I got War Strifebringer for now. And so that's the problem that Machina has been causing me. And I've been trying to find a way around that because it's like the thing that I kind of don't like about Machina is the fact that because he relies on so much equipment play, is that he doesn't have much of a board presence because essentially his equipment is just like he just like bolts things when he plays equipment. That's all he does, and he gets more draws off of them. So he's got decent amount of card draw, but not a great amount of field presence. And I'm not a huge fan of playing that way because I find it often spikes a bit. Because if you have field presence, you're generally good against everybody. But if you spike like Machina does, then he's really good against some things and really bad against others.
Okay.
So that is some like the more high level thoughts that I've been stirring around in my head as I analyze this format.
Okay.
So yeah, there is a lot in this format to study, and there are very few truly bad cards. There is a case to be made for virtually every card in certain circumstances or matchups. So it's like virtually very few things. It is anomalous for something to be really, truly bad.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like one of the most expensive cards in the format right now is an uncommon.
Really?
Yeah. That being Haven Resourceful Helper, because she costs 1. Her stat line is 1/2. She's a rogue, not an alpha, so she doesn't get powered up by New York or anything. But she does get powered up by the rogue equivalent to New York, which is Grant Park, Chicago. And how that works is it lets you search out a clash card from your deck with cost 5 or less on enter. So it's like instead of draw a card, you search a card, and it powers up defense by 0/2 instead of offense by 2/0. And so what makes this Haven really powerful is being one cost 1/2, and her enter effect is you just straight up draw a card. That is an incredibly powerful return on investment, and very, very few decks will who run white will want to pass that up. So it's like I have like 20 of them. Virtually all of them are in use, and I had to print out proxies. That is how powerful that card is.
Dang, that is pretty cool.
Yeah, so it's like if you wanted to like invest in this game and see what's in the market, some good shops that you could check out. The Realm has an online store that's pretty good. Also, my co-host from Rogue Contenders, Ryoton CCG, I can drop you some links, and you can put those in the description of the video.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Excuse me. Okay, here's Ryoton's site. He's gonna love that I'm plugging this. And also, while I search up these links, I am on the Rogue Contenders. We record every Wednesday, and assuming we're not doing like a game like we did last time, where we invented our own 2v2 rule set, and we were just messing around with that.
Okay.
And that's what we did last time, and that's where that funny scenario where I managed to take out 4 torque uncontrollables in 1 turn came from.
Okay.
Got one link. Okay, here's Ryoton's shop. And now look up the realm. That'll work. Yeah, these places also sell tickets for the Level Up Expo convention in Las Vegas, which is where the tournament is going to be. So if you're going to that already, swing by and check us out. We're going to be doing things Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Friday is where we're introducing a lot of there's going to be a sneak preview of the next the set 3 Clash kit, which essentially is the set 3 version of the starter sets that we played with just now. That was the set 1 version. To game 2, we are going to be doing a 1 month early advanced sealed event, a pre-release for the set 3 Unrivaled set that comes out at the end of May. We're going to be looking at that and getting a sneak peek at that essentially 1 month before everybody else. And for the final day, Sunday, that's where the fun begins. That is the first ever level 2 Alpha Clash tournament. And that means that if you manage to place in the top 32 of that, you get an invite to the tier 3 tournament, which is essentially regionals. Following that is the set 3. The tier 2 is regional. Tier 3 is essentially national level, and tier 4 is world champion level. And
Okay.
I'm going for it. I'm feeling the pull.
That is a good idea. I like it.
And did I get that realm link? Yep. Here is the realm link. As soon as I find where the chat was.
Okay.
For some reason, the links I'm posting aren't working.
Send it to me and I'll post them.
Okay. Where are you? There are you. Okay. I'll drop it in the Stream Team Assemble. Here is the realm link. And then
Okay.
and here's Ryoton's link. And I strongly advise, like, if you're going to get into this game, get into it before TCG player becomes a factor, because once TCG player becomes a factor, things are going to get a lot more expensive. Because once TCG player is a factor, you have to pay TCG players fees, and because it's a new game that's just starting out, those fees could wind up being a lot more impactful. Because it's like this is literally being operated out of some guy's house. And so he's just essentially Ridge and Garrett, I want to say, are essentially running this themselves. And so since they're not exactly Wizards of the Coast, It's harder for them to get onto TCG Player and to afford all the different fees, and it's harder for all the different sellers to afford the fees and whatnot because it's such a small game. But based on what you've seen, I think based on what I've seen and what I've been experimenting with, this game definitely has a lot of potential. It's a question of whether it's going to get to the people that want to play something like this. And this demonstration is a big part of getting this game some desperately needed oxygen.
I would agree with that. This does seem like it's a pretty sweet game.
Yeah, it's like, I really want to run this past Crow because Crow played Magic, but he's very disillusioned with it now. I imagine that's only gotten worse as Magic gets into more and more scandals.
Yeah. There's a Wizards of the Coast kind of has an anti-good PR, I guess you could call it.
It's like somebody at Wizards of the Coast wished on a monkey's paw to be more relevant in the news cycle.
Mm. Yeah, pretty much. All right. Well, I think we'll have to call it good for today, folks. But this has been fun. This is very cool. All I have to say. But
check out the Rogue Contenders. That's Riotson's podcast. Yeah, I should drop that link too if I haven't already.
I don't think you did, but let me.
I'll drop Riotson's link. You can subscribe to his channel and see all of the latest Alpha Clash news.
Okay, cool.
Maybe this will actually work because Steam Team seems to like. It seems to like YouTube links, but not others. There it goes.
Okay. Nice.
And so subscribe to his channel, and about every Friday or so, you'll see our latest podcast or game go up, depending on what we decided for that day. We're probably going to do a podcast next Wednesday regarding the brand new reveals that we've gotten for the Unrivaled. And we're going to be taking a look at anything we get between now and then. And I'm hopefully going to see conversations towards Set 2 has been out for a month, and how do we feel about it? So that's an advanced hint for a topic I'm going to be trying to broach for playing the game on a very high, very technical level and really making the most of all the mechanics available. It's like that's the thing about new games is that unlike Magic the Gathering, where you pretty much have to look at gigantic databases online, there are 250 cards available in this set. You could very easily figure out what exists in this game right now. So it's like this is definitely the part where if you wanted to get into a really competitive, really young game where you can really start from the ground up and see what it comes out as it comes out, now's the time to get in.
Okay.
Especially if you're in a competitive setting. So it's like this is getting a lot of traction with a lot of flesh and blood people. A lot of people are in that space are liking it. Dagon White is a big player in Alpha Clash. If you are familiar with him in the flesh and blood circles, apparently he's a big flesh and blood celebrity, but I don't keep track of much of them. Obviously, I'm kind of more superhero oriented than sort of sword and sorcery oriented. So it's like obviously Alpha Clash is where I gravitate.
Oh, definitely. I would definitely agree with that. I need to keep going with my own superhero book, but I just haven't had the motivation to write in it for a while.
And finally, after all this time, you've seen what I've been busy with.
Definitely, yeah. This is something. Alrighty, I think we'll call it good for today. Thank you all.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, of course. I think this game has some good traction. I'm interested to see where it goes.
Thank you.
All right. Adios.